compromise to get to where we are now. And nationally, it seems that compromise is becoming a pretty dirty word in politics, and I think that's really a shame. I think most of us can agree that we all achieve more when we work together and give a little, and rather than just sticking to your guns and drawing a hard line in the sand and refusing to work together at all. And so the reason I'm confident this will pass is because the Commission has worked very hard to put together a program that not only takes into account all of the concerns that were addressed at the public meetings, but that also craft a policy that has the support of the majority of the Commission. This isn't everything that if I could have waved a magic wand and set all these parameters myself, things would have been a little different. But like I said, we've all compromised and crafted something that does have the support of a majority of the Commission. I should note that the city will also provide each household with 12 free overflow bags per year, and additional overflow bags can be purchased. Right now, we're probably going to set the rate at $3 a piece, although it's possible that we might be able to lower that a little bit. But and we're also going to have, the proposal is to have 4 free pickup days a year. Lots of communities that have limited garbage collection will still have days around Christmas time and around spring cleaning where we'll just pick up anything anybody sets out to the curb. Because even though most folks can anticipate their weekly garbage will fit into one of these 3 size carts, we all have the occasional birthday, the occasional holiday, or the occasional excess of garbage, so we're taking that into account. So to clarify, we are going to continue to pick up everything that has been picked up before. We'll continue to pick up any amount of waste. We'll continue to pick up oversized items. We'll continue to pick up yard waste, and we'll continue to pick up recycling. One more note on yard waste before I'm opening this up to comments, concerns, and questions. A lot of folks don't realize this, but yard waste that's set out properly to the curb will be and can be picked up by the city and composted. And it's actually also a waste of tax dollars to send that stuff to the landfill. It's always a real shame when people put their yard clippings or their leaves in plastic bags that are set out to the curb that we then pick up and pay to send to the landfill. Not only does that add a significant burden to the landfill that doesn't need to be there. I'd say about 30% of the waste we send to the landfill is organic matter and stuff like yard waste. Not only does that add an unnecessary burden to the landfill, it's also an unnecessary waste of tax dollars. And so any yard waste that's set out to the curb in a manageable pile will be picked up. And there are also yard waste bags available for sale. Places like Lowe's and Kroger's and hardware stores that are paper bags that you can put your yard waste into, large paper bags that can be shredded along with the rest of the yard waste and composted as well. And so that yard waste can actually be a commodity that can be put to use in the community rather than a liability that we have to use tax dollars to send to the landfill. I realize that these relatively brief comments undoubtedly are still leaving lots of folks with a number of questions. So I'm just going to go ahead and open the floor to any questions or concerns that folks might have.
Fortunately, I live in the county. But call me old-fashioned, but I grew up in South Frankfort, and I can remember the garbage truck coming by with a driver and 2 people from the workhouse that were working for something. I think currently work release is 15 cents an hour. So you have 2 people on a truck and a driver at 30 cents an hour. For an 8-hour day, it's $2.40. People were setting their garbage out in their own containers. And these men would go around, and for, say, 5 trucks in the city working every day, you're talking about coming out with maybe $30, $35 a month for the labor force. They're temporary workers. You don't have any Social Security. You don't have any pension plan or benefits. And the garbage cans you're giving the people are going to cost $1 million. I mean, you could get the labor force for $25 a month or something like $300 a year. And the people would be very happy to put their own garbage out in their own garbage can.
I'm glad you mentioned the labor force there. We do indeed hire inmates. The county's generous to supply inmate labor to us at an incredibly low rate. There are a couple of factors with the inmate labor though. One is that it's a pretty limited resource, meaning that we can't always there aren't always enough inmates available to do the work that we need. That often is supplemented with full paid staff labor. Converse to that, there's a lot of work around the city that needs to be done, including things like waste management on public roads and things like that. And I know that's something the Rotary Club gets together to do every now and then, is to pick up waste along the side of the highway. There's also lots of maintenance in our parks department that has to be done by paid staff and paid labor. But the point being that there's a lot of work out there that these inmates can be doing. They're a very valuable resource, but they don't, if they're not on the trucks, that means that they would be freed up to do work in other parts of the city and to help us realize cost savings in some other areas of the city. And also, if somebody gets hurt on the job, I mean, we have to take a degree of responsibility for that, and that's where a surprising amount of our costs are. It's not so much in the labor and benefits, and obviously the automated trucks. I mean, that doesn't require any labor or benefit expenses either. A lot of it, like I said, is in the workers' comp claims, and it's also in the insurance, because the city self-insures. We outsource our health insurance and liability insurance to third parties, but essentially we self-insure and back that insurance ourselves. And we anticipate significant decreases to our insurance liability as a result of this as well. But that's a really good point, Jim. Thank you.
They've already done this where I live, and what you wind up with is the use of trash cans now that you can't use, and put those nasty things in your car and take them to the dump. You know, I took like a year to get rid of these old trash cans. Afterwards, a lot of people are going to burn them, and that creates pollution. Is there any plan to pick up or, I don't know, somehow recycle the old trash cans? Because it was a big headache for me.
Sure. No, that's a really good question, Tyler. Thank you. Old trash cans, if folks don't want to use them anymore for any particular purpose, can be set out to the curb, and they will be picked up if they're and sent to the landfill. The old recycling bins, the red recycling bins, if folks want to keep those and use those for storage or anything like that, they're certainly welcome to. Otherwise, they can be set out to the curb and they'll be recycled. But yes, we are going to handle the old cans and the old bins for both.
So you've already had this pilot project for about a year in Crestwood.
Yes, sir.
Crestwood has already got the middle size. My mother's 98 years old. If she didn't have 3 sons, she'd be a problem being 35 or 55 81 3.
Right.
That's the first question. Are you telling me that the recyclable one is going to be replaced, the red one, by, gee, I have to have 2 of these, one for the recyclable and one for the regular garbage? You want to tell me we got 2, she wants 2 small ones, so we 2 of them?
That's a good question. Essentially, yes. Some of this isn't set in stone yet, and so if somebody really thinks that the red recycling bins that had to be picked up and carried are easier to manage than the 35-gallon rollout cart, then I can't imagine we wouldn't be able to work something out where folks would still be welcome to set that out to the curb. Frankly, though, my assessment is that the small cart here, we brought the carts here today so that folks could see them, but this small 35-gallon cart is pretty easy to move, even when it's loaded up. It's got wheels on it, it's got a handle, and it's certainly much easier to move than something that you literally have to pick up and carry. But if folks, I'm sure we can work something out if folks want to keep the regular red recycling bins. I'm glad you brought up the Crestwood pilot project. We did do a pilot project in terms of the city provided rollout carts there. And this is in the interest of exploring 2 different avenues, because they're a little separate. One is the automation of the collection system, and the other is the implementation of a pay-as-you-throw system, and they're actually kind of separate, which means they're not. We could provide the carts and automate collection, and still implement any of the different funding options that were presented at the public forums. The pilot project at Crestwood received an overwhelmingly positive response from the community. About 85% of respondents were very happy with the new carts and the ease of handling. One of the concerns that some folks expressed, or particularly elderly folks, was that they found them a little bulky and hard to move, which is why one of the reasons why, even if we were to go to pure automation without charging by volume, we would still offer the carts in 3 different sizes, so that folks who wanted carts that are easier to move could go with the smaller 35-gallon option. And if you come up here and look, you'll see that this 35-gallon cart it's roughly the size of your average garbage can, except it has handles and a wheel on it, so it's invariably easier to move. And I guess one other note I'll make before taking the next question is that, you know, under the proposed fee structure, we expect the vast majority of folks to go with the 65 or 35-gallon carts. We don't expect a lot of folks to feel the need for the 95-gallon cart, but it's available for anybody who wants it. But we do expect most people will pay less under the proposed fee structure than the fee structure that's currently in place.
For any change is not already recycling, shame on you. Second, how are you going to tell the difference between garbage cans and recycling cans?
These carts right here are pilot carts. These aren't necessarily the exact carts we'll select, but they'll be different colors and they'll be labeled differently. And we're exploring the possibility of the recycling carts actually having a full label printed on them detailing what you can and can't put in them. Frankfurt's very fortunate to be partnered with Lexington Fayette Urban County Government's Recycling Center. They accept single stream recycling, which means we don't have to sort the recycling. We don't have to put the paper in one place and the plastic in another place and the glass in another. You can just put it all in one can and take it. And in a nutshell, the city accepts just about anything that's recyclable. So you can put virtually any plastic with the triangle on it, the little recycling triangle on it. You can see a triangle on it, you can put it in the can. Virtually any paper product. We even recycle electronic scrap, like computers and electronic gadgets. That's the only item that we separate from the normal single stream. So we ask that either be sent out to the curb separately, and we'll pick it up, or that can be dropped off at the recycling center on Rouse Avenue off of Home Street.
Did I hear you right when you said there's a zero charge on small one?
Yes, sir. There is.
In my experience, any services which are given zero charge is not appreciated. And I think
Right.
even if it's a $2 charge, I'm sure the city can use the money. I don't think you should provide service for zero charge.
That's actually a fair point, and that's what I have to admit that if that was one of the compromises that was made in terms of coming up with this plan. Because I think there would be a benefit to charging even just $1 for the can. It's actually very similar to something we experienced in the community garden network, where initially we were considering the possibility of offering private plots in our community gardens for free. But we spoke with folks who have done a lot of community garden work in other communities, and we discovered that if you don't charge anything for it at all, that there's no this analogy just relates to the community garden. But we discovered that if we give the plots away for free, some people would claim them and not actually use them. And so we found that if we charge just a little bit for the plots, that raises a little bit of revenue for the gardens, but more importantly, it gives people ownership of the program. But that's really, I think I'm pretty comfortable with offering it for zero. That was a compromise that the commission came to that a majority of us are able to agree on. I think the only technical drawback to that, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that segues me into something that I failed to mention. The commission, at the beginning of the year, a bill was sent out for $30 to cover the previous 6 months' worth of garbage collection. And that bill noted that another $30 bill would be sent out in July. Well, the commission voted to waive that second $30 bill. But some folks at the beginning of the year went ahead and paid the full $60. So essentially, some folks went ahead and paid in advance a $30 fee that we ended up waiving. And so we had, and so we tried to get the word out to folks that they were due their money back if they overpaid. And some folks opted to just go ahead and get a check cut and get that $30 sent back to them. Other folks opted to just let that $30 come out of future fees. Does that make any sense? And so, I think the one administrative drawback to the $0 cans is that anybody who overpaid the $30 who wants the free can can't get that $30 applied to any fees because there aren't any. But that's a minor point. We'll be happy to cut those folks' checks.
Thank you, Sal. We're out of time.
We have time. Anybody who wants, let me say one more thing. Anybody who has any questions about this, please feel free to contact me or any of the other commissioners. We're trying to share as much of this information with the public as we can. We've also been recording audio recordings and more recently video recording all of our meetings and posting them online on the city's website. So anybody who wants to see any of these discussions or comment on them is more than welcome to. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah, for our program. And, you know, as part of our literacy program, we give a book every week to one of the local libraries. And Self has already signed that, so that will be donated in your name. We also have a 4-way text pin for you. Thank you very much.